And we're live on Facebook in the RUNY Supporters Club Facebook group. This is the big guy, Scott Ferrara, and I'm here with Michael Perezzini. Now, some of you may know he is the president of the Capital Area Rooster fan club. He has a nice little group up there. I know you're with the Albany Bootleggers right now, right, Mike?
That is correct. I was formerly the president of the Albany Bootleggers, and now I am their coach. So I took a step down, but it's good. It's still great.
Doing big things. I heard McWilliams is looking to pick you up next season.
I hope so.
And for those of you that don't know me, I'm the president, I guess, of the national organization, which is the RUNY Supporters Club. Most of you guys know me as the big guy. My name's Scott Ferrara. I've met a lot of you either online, at matches, at practice matches, things like that. So we're going to try and bring you a once a week, different type of, all RUNY style, I guess, live. So this week we're going to break down week 2, our nice win against the Austin Gilgronis. And I smile when I say the Gilgronis because you just can't. I mean, right? I mean, it's a little ridiculous. That's why I like to call them the AGs. But we're also going to talk about some of the injuries on the injury front. Apparently, there's a signing happening tonight, according to Mr. Matt McCarthy of Rugby Wrap Up, and then we're going to look forward to the Week 3 preview. So what do you have, Michael? How did you like the match last week?
I thought Greg McWilliams did an amazing job turning the team around from the week before. Week 1 looking super rusty. They did not look great at all, and then week 2 kind of brought everything together. Clearly, got their mind right and went in strong and did what had to be done and beat, the Gilgronis.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a better performance from week 1. They showed up to play. I think New England punching them in the mouth was a big wake-up call. And unfortunately, we had so many injuries, especially at the 4 and 5. 3 weeks ago, we lost Alex McDonald. He tore his pec. He's done for the season. The game against New England, Trevor Cassidy broke 2 ribs, punctured a lung, was leaking air into his chest cavity. His lovely wife was screaming at him to get back on the field, which I heard on the broadcast, which is awesome. Shout out to Liz Cassidy. And he was actually in the ICU and in the hospital for quite a few days. I know he can't fly for quite a while too, and actually had to drive back from Las Vegas. I think he is slated to come back. Let's see. Not the weekend of it might be the weekend of our home opener, or it might be the week after. So what they did last week was they threw Nate Brakeley inside from the 6, moved up Kyle Sumption to the 7, put in Big Basta at number 8, which it's great that he's a versatile player. He doesn't seem pretentious to really be like, I'm not going to play with the forwards. He realizes he wants field time. Scored his first try. I mean, off the set piece there. So the forwards look good.
I think, definitely a major improvement. Those lineouts were amazing. I don't think they lost a single lineout that they put in. I think the one being they eventually got back and they scored on was the only missed lineout. But I think all the lineouts were amazing. The only problem was scrums a little bit towards the end of the game when they started putting subs in. It did look like Bastero looked a little uncomfortable at 8. But other than that, once he figured it out, especially those scrums, keeping the ball in, and then just taking off the side and just making 4 guys try and tackle him, which was amazing to watch and see.
Well, I think with Basta, and we had Marcus Walsh starting at the 9. The big thing was, I know McWilliams wants to have more of a free-flowing thing, especially off the set-piece scrum, to get it out to our amazing back line. And I think the synergy between Basta and Marcus isn't there because they just recently started playing with each other, whereas Kyle Sumption actually had a whole season with them. So he's a little more decisive when he wants to pick it up. I think Basta was a little hesitant because he wasn't sure what Marcus wanted him to do. But again, that'll grow over time, the relationship. I know Patty Ryan did not get the start this week. I know he had an ankle issue. So I think the forwards look good. Anthony Parry has been looking good. While the scrum hasn't been the best, the forwards have been picking up the ball and gaining meters.
That's the big thing, yeah. So off the rucks they've been hammer it hammer it down. I think the scrum work is the only thing that really really needs work on with the forwards. But other than that, they are doing an amazing job.
And even without Will Leonard, the back line looked great offensively. Obviously, Troy Lockyer, MLR Week 2 Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Amazing. Almost had that hat trick at the end. I think he got stopped at the 5-meter line on his third line break with no support, unfortunately. He was running too fast. I was kind of upset. I was kind of upset that the MLR didn't give him his tries, any of the top 5 tries of the week. I guess they felt they were too pedestrian. But you can make him the player of the week, but he didn't score. It wasn't exciting, his scores. I think the back.
But yeah, I think the back line did well. I think that the unsung hero of the back line though was Marsh. Did an amazing job distributing well. Had a perfect vision. His first try, I think, was really good. Seeing that open space, giving a nice little dummy pass, and then hitting it for the try. So I think, yeah, Marsh definitely was the unsung hero of the back line this past weekend.
Yeah, Marsh looked good. Again, he's not afraid to take the ball. So I think that opens up a lot and frees up a lot of the center and wing play because he is dangerous with his legs. I think his kicking was perfect on conversions. I don't think he missed one.
He didn't miss a single kick. I rewatched it when I rewatched the games. I made sure I counted. Yeah, they did not miss a single conversion the entire game this past weekend, which was amazing because there were they put the ball out pretty far on the wings for tries, and he still was slotting them, which was great.
It's good to have him back. I know Harry Bennett is a great kicker too. So now that Bennett's fully healthy, I think if there is an issue or if there is an injury, our kicking game is solid as far as for points. I think the only thing was our back line defense, and Will Leonard is that stalwart who really pushes it forward on the back line, really makes the tackle and completes it like 100% of the time, and not having him back there is a detriment. He's facing a 4-game ban. I think I was the first one to report it technically from his hit from Ty Leader. MLR came back and banned him 4 games. Yeah. So I think the backs need to step up a little bit in their physicality and making the hits. That was my only critique, really.
Yeah, the one thing that I overall didn't like was they had 3 held up tries this past weekend, which is unheard of. Usually, 1 held up try in a game. Okay, 2, that's getting a little weird.
You've obviously never played in D4 Nerfview because we used to held up tries for you guys.
I played, nice social rugby. We were the kings of let the guy go through.
No, we were the kings of we didn't want any points scored.
But no, it seemed weird that it was good. Like you could see that the forwards were driving, and they were definitely churning. But the problem was they'd be churning too close to the try line, and then there would be no one there for support, or they wouldn't go down soon enough to allow for a next phase, and so they'd churn right into the try over the try line, and someone would be right there to cover them. So that was the only real critique, I think, for the forwards and overall.
At least one of those was held up when they were trying to score off a maul, I believe. So it's a little bit tougher when you are standing up straight versus if the ball is within 5 meters, you're just trying to ram it down their throat. But the other 2 definitely were within 5 meters and on the ground. You should have punched it in.
Yeah.
And then, Austin came back. I know Coach McWilliams put in subs around, I think, the 55-minute mark, maybe the
around there-ish. Yeah.
And I want everybody to get time. But I think Gilgronis having their starters in a little past normally where you have them really helped them to get on that scoring run. But again, and that goes back to the backline defense where we weren't finishing tackles. And we had this problem last year on finishing tackles. But again, I think it's just more of a grit thing. Get the job done if you're the last man.
Absolutely. It just seemed like Austin was capitalizing on that open kind of play where they'd get, off the back of a scrum where they'd, be able to get a little bit more run in, get a little more speed on the ball, and then they just would, blast right through
after that. Backs. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see. And then to round out week 2, I'm just glad we got bonus point I love the bonus points. I think going into the rest of the season, we're gonna see the lineup shaken up a lot more. You had the kid Jonas Petrokropoulos. I can't say his name.
Yeah.
Jonas, but Jonas is a good guy. He had his first cap. You saw Robert Erbiscu get in there. You saw Mikey Brown get in there. So I was glad to see a lot of guys getting minutes, especially up front, because they do have a lot more forwards that can work in there and do different things. So I'm hoping going forward we kind of build on what we have. But yeah, as far as injuries, so like we said, Patty Ryan was out with an ankle last week. Trevor Cassidy's out for 5 weeks. Unfortunately, Alex McDonald is out for the season. I know JP Aguirre also against the Babas when they had that scrimmage was hurt. That's why you haven't seen him. Him and Alex McDonald and O'Sheen O'Neill were 3 of the guys who came to visit at the Pig and Whistle. So it was nice to interact with the fans, So if you're a fan, if you're in the New York area, the lower New York area, come down to the Pig and Whistle on Sunday. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff. You will get to meet some of the guys. You'll get to meet me. I literally scream at the television. I don't care. You can ask Alex McDonald. Last week they had seated people for dinner in front of the television. Cormac, I don't know what you were thinking about that one. They left.
That's a bold strategy.
Especially when I'm screaming, the butcher, like 17 times. So they left rather quickly, but it's a fun time, and again, you get to meet some of the players. So what about you? I know you have your own watch party. How that work?
So we're fortunate enough, being with the Bootleggers. We're a social team, and we have a bar that we go to after practice every day called the Excelsior Pub. It's in downtown Albany, and they specialize in New York State food and liquor. So it's all New York State food, all New York State liquor, and they were super excited to have the RUNY supporters come on board and watch the games there with them, which has been amazing. Hook it right up to the TV, watch the games. Usually there's a good around like 10 of us that come and watch, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but we always get a nice crowd going, and then we usually try and get a few other people that haven't seen rugby before involved, and we do enjoy just screaming at the TV as well. So there's no short supply of that up there.
What's the New York food? Are you guys eating like dirty water dogs, or how's it working?
Yeah, they have sabrettes. They have glacier hot dogs with meat sauce. They have pizza rolls. They've got garbage plates from Rochester, Speedies, anything you could think of. They basically have that's New York State food.
We got a question real quick. It's not saying who it's from, but I have a feeling it might be from my buddy Jason Zimmerman, because he was talking about this in the group during the game. He's actually Jason Zimmerman, and I met in a Saracens supporters club. He lives out in Western Pennsylvania, and last year he actually got to come to quite a lot of RUNY home games. So he was asking in the first 25 minutes we could have kicked 3 penalties instead we went for the lineouts. He thinks we should have kicked for points. My feeling is get on Austin quick. We want the bonus point. I think the strategy was sound to score. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Yeah, it at the time when I rewatched the game, I was like, that is interesting, but I think that they wanted to get those tries on and kind of pound it in that when we come down into the 22, we're not giving up. We're not going to take 3. We want the full 7, and so it was good on them to execute that plan. It could have backfired easily, but fortunately enough, they did, get a few tries out of it. So good on them for making that happen.
I think going into this week, depending on the situation, you might want to kick some of those, depending on how Atlanta is, but we'll go into that later. Back to everybody moving around. We also got James Rochford back, Rocky, my boy, out of Cork. Congratulations on fatherhood, Rocky. Yeah. His wife
congratulations,
had a baby girl, and he is now back with the team. So I think if we can have our pillars up front with Patty and Rocky really wrecking through the scrum, throw Anthony Parry in there. Anthony Parry is probably our best offensive front row guy. I mean, Butchie's good. Butchie's good off the set piece, but free flowing. Yeah. I think Parry's the best we have. So I think he'll get a lot more starts than we think, depending on what we need. I think, again, like I was talking before, we can manipulate the lineup to help us win games the way we want to win them. And give guys rest when we need to give them rest.
Yeah, I think I could totally agree with you on that point. We have a good depth in lineup, and so if we want to win games, we're grounded and pounding like against Austin. We have the guys that could do that. If we want to play more of a finesse game where we're kicking for points, I think we also got that as well. So we have we have the options, which is great to have.
And speaking of other pickups, Rocky was already signed. It was just a matter of him coming, getting here after the birth of his baby girl. Matt McCarthy from Rugby Wrap Up saying he's going to announce in a couple hours a signing for RUNY, a USA Eagle. Me and you have an idea who it is,
yes,
but we don't want to say anything right now because it's unconfirmed and the team hasn't told us anything. But we both assume it's going to be a loose forward because that's what we're like, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Now, who it is, again, we have our thoughts. We're not really going to share them. But I think the biggest issue right now in the MLR is visa issues, right? I mean, everybody
that
that
has been the prevailing issue these past 2 weeks. Have been guys getting with visa issues.
And I mean, you see all these signings, and even with RUNY, Cara Pryor and all that, and Minturn and all those guys, not here, So I think eventually, once RUNY gets all those guys in, it's also not going to just be about the core Irish contingent we have. It's going to be about going to a Cara Pryor and all that. And I think the biggest thing we saw last year is you saw the West Coast teams played more of what I would call a Pacific Islander style, a little more free flowing. And you saw the East Coast teams do a little more European style set piece. And I think if there's I think we just lost Mike. But I think if there is a flow of players from each side really going to both coasts, that's going to open up the way the offense works. And I think we lost Mikey, and I think Mikey's back. And there he is. Mikey's back. What I was saying was, I think there was a delineation last year. The East Coast was more of a European style. The West Coast was a more Southern Hemisphere style.
Yeah.
As the teams start to gain parity in which type of players they get, you're going to have a more conglomeration of both styles, and I think that's going to be great for the MLR.
Absolutely. I think, the other thing too is people keep calling the MLR currently the retirement league, which while there are a lot of veterans that are coming in that have, that are well into, their 30s that have been playing, it's great experience. And that's what we need. We need a lot of, guys that came from Europe that have been playing for a while. Those guys that came from, New Zealand, Australia as well, that, have been playing for so long that could bring in their influences and almost be like coach players to help kind of get things kind of rolling and, make MLR even better than what it is right now.
Absolutely. I think I've seen that as a big question. I forgot who asked it. It was one of the San Diego fans, or, just had a discussion about it, about, why are we not growing players? And I feel we're growing players. I mean, Will Burke, young American player, North American player. Mikey Brown, young North American player. Mm-hmm. Troy Lockyer, young European player. Marshy, young European player. Marcus Walsh, young Europe. So, I mean, we still, especially RUNY, I think, has a great split of guys. I mean, you got guys like Mikey Sinclair, Chris Mattina, North American. You do have your Ben Fodens and you do have your Bostas, but everybody else is getting playing time. So
absolutely, yeah.
Maybe it's more of just certain teams don't have that, and that's just the way their GM and their ownership structure want it. And then, honestly, that's their prerogative. If that's what they want to do.
You can't really, looking at, if you look back a little bit at, the 2019 World Cup and what USA put out, you can't say that not like, the MLR isn't fielding, the USA Eagles of tomorrow, because most of those guys were playing in MLR teams, or a few of them in Europe, but a lot of them in, the MLR, so that we are developing, the future rugby players that are going to be, Eagles.
Yeah, definitely. I think what does kill that. Somebody brought up a good point. Is if they start to phase out the championship in England, because you have a lot of American guys there. What's it going to do for American players in Europe? But maybe they move over to France. Maybe they come back to the MLR and they really get their experience here. So will it be a killer for Americans in Europe if they bring back the budget? Not really sure, but I would just hope those guys will look to jump back. You're going to have TT Lamacitelli in the championship with Saracens this year. I mean, come on, TT, let's move on over. The other big comment discussion was Vegas. Was Vegas a success? And my big point was last week it was like 10 degrees in New York. The wind was flying around in Midtown. It was flying around. So you can just imagine MCU Park. If you've never been there before, center field faces the ocean. That breeze comes right through the sticks. And as a matter of fact, last year, I think Harry Bennett went like 0 for 5 kicking into the wind in one match because it was just a 40-mile-an-hour wind in his face. So you're telling me that would have been better weather with more fans than the nice weather they had in Vegas that particular day?
Yeah, Vegas is hit or miss. I think sometimes you could have the beautiful weather like they had this past weekend. Other times you have the weather that they had week one where it's 40-mile-an-hour winds. It was probably I looked on my phone, it was 55 degrees out there, so it wasn't that much better. I think it was a nice idea, with the rugby sevens leaving Vegas and then going to LA and trying to get something back into Vegas, to have rugby back in Vegas, because it was always great to have. But I think it just I don't know if it was the teams or what it was, but the fans weren't there. But I think that people were watching anyway, and so that was the idea. Is maybe we'll get a few more fans than say a game in New York or a game in you know New England, but we'll still get the people watching. They'll still get the people involved. And so I think overall in that case, good plan. I think the stadium's going to look small no matter what. No, even if there's 1,000 people in the stands. Having been to Sam Boyd before, it's a pretty big stadium. 1,000 people still does not look like a lot of people, but overall, yeah, it was. I think it worked. It ended up working out, but it could have been done better.
I think Sam Boyd is a weird pitch to play on. I know for whatever reason when they made it, if you guys don't know how these fake fields are made, they put down a concrete slab, they put some rubber cushions, then they put the fake grass, and they add rubber tires as little dirt things. For whatever reason, I don't know if they used half of the rubber cushion they were supposed to, but as you could tell, especially in week one against New England, the ball was bouncing off the kicks. So the ball was bouncing off the pitch off a kick, so much so that we didn't kick off out of possession much against Austin, because I think we had now understood that what was going to happen to it. So I think you can do it in Vegas, but I think the stadium's not right. Also, I don't think, the other thing is, while each team did their own thing and had parties, I know San Diego had a party, and I know the RUNY guys were posting out there where they were going to be. MLR itself didn't have like a concerted effort as a league to do something. Like, they should have gotten all the fans together. They should have said, oh, if you have a ticket for, the New England, New York game, come to the game on Sunday against, whoever was playing on Sunday, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. And because you knew what the sales were to begin with. So if you knew the sales were bad and you knew somebody's there for the weekend, you might as well just give them a free ticket at that point, because they went to the first game. They'll show up to the second one. I watch a lot of MLR games that aren't RUNY, so I'm assuming a lot of other people do that. The one comment that did make me laugh and got me kind of angry was somebody said, well, there wasn't a what to do guide in Vegas. I said, well, you're in Las Vegas.
There's no need for a what to do guide. You do whatever you want.
I think the Sevens Invitational was there that same weekend, or one of the weekends, or in between. You knew what the teams were doing because they were putting it out on social media. So it was like, and there's also, you can go see Cher in concert. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, people are doing residencies there. So it wasn't.
I think a better team up with the Rugby Vegas Invitational would have been nice. Maybe giving teams tickets, saying, "Hey, just fill the stands, come." And maybe if they were there, forget what week it was. If it was, week 2, it did look like there were more fans in the stands week 2, definitely. So maybe that's what they did. Maybe it's selling, a Saturday ticket and a Sunday ticket, or a Saturday Sunday package, like they do, what they used to do with the LA or the Vegas Sevens. Like you can watch all the games on Saturday and all the games on Sunday or whatever, just to keep you, and you can leave the stadium too, and come back. Something like that would be great, I think, to get people to, maybe they'll come for one game, leave for another, come back for a third. Just something to get more people involved, I think would have been great.
Gotcha. Somebody just wrote, need the local bars to get on board and push it. So far, as you guys know, obviously the Pig and Whistle is our eternal home. Cormac is a great host to us. Always gives us the upstairs. Always, I feel Pig and Whistle pours the best pint of Guinness this side of Dublin. Also, just so you guys know, the Douglas in Brooklyn is a big RUNY bar. If you guys can make it out there. As Mike said, the Excelsior bar in South Albany. Also, the Beachmont in Nershell, New York is a bar in Westchester that my buddy Rob owns. Right by Iona College. I know the Iona College rugby guys go there constantly. I'm pretty sure he shows RUNY. Well, he tells me he does. So I'm going to assume, I'm assuming, Rob's not lying to me. So there are local bars getting more involved, but that also means the Rooster Booster has to get more involved. So as we said prior, Mike is the president of the Capital Region Rooster Boosters. We are looking for people to have to be part of the Western New York Association chapter, whatever you want to call it, of the Rooster Boosters, and the Northern New York chapter of the Rooster Boosters. And also, Mike is looking for a couple guys to help him out with social media in the Capital District. So contact Mike, contact me, contact the pages if you want to help out in any of those areas. Unfortunately, we kind of already have Southern New York covered between me, Dan Bennett Brown, and Craig Gradelli. So again, guys, the way to get other people involved is if you start to involve them. Bring your friends to a watch party. I'm bringing several friends to the Pig and Whistle on Sunday. My one buddy works for the New York Giants. We played football together. Never really understood rugby until I started taking him to the watch parties last year. Now he loves to come to the watch parties. So that's really how you get people involved. So
let's say if you want to get a bar involved. If you want to get a bar involved, just go to a bar. A lot of times, if you have a favorite bar in mind, you go to the bar owner and say, "Hey, look, we want to host a watch party. There's going to be, 6 of us. Can we have a TV and plug in a laptop with an HDMI?" And a bar owner most of the time will say, "Absolutely. Are you going to buy beer?" Then yes. So it's the easiest and quickest way to do it.
And one of the best things, because the MLR has this contract with ESPN Plus, so the way it used to work is, like, let's say Six Nations last year, this was the thing. The bar has to pay per seat, let's say $20 per seat, no matter if people are there or not, just to show the games. That's why everybody used to have a cover. This year, because it's on ESPN Plus or the NBC Gold bar package, which is only $200 total, they know that they don't need to pay per seat. They don't need to charge you. So it's really a very nominal fee to them to get ESPN Plus for $5 a month or $5.99 for you to have 6 guys and toss back 12 beers, 14 beers, however many beers you guys are going to drink safely and responsibly. They're going to make their money. And, again, we like to give them a shout out. If you do have a Rooster Booster bar, like we said, the Excelsior is a great bar. Mike offered them, a nice little certificate, making them official Rooster Booster bar. We're going to try and get them some swag. So real quick, we're just going to do a preview of week 3. Atlanta scares me, Mike. Atlanta scares me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I did get to watch some of their highlights. They look like when they were playing against Dole, they looked like a team that was willing to take that penalty and go for the sticks inside their own half. So there are a lot of times, within the 40 and the 22. Oh, we got to, they've committed a penalty. We'll go for the sticks and we'll take the points. I think they only scored one or two tries. The rest of their points were from kicks at goal. So I think it just kind of has to come down to not making stupid penalties when you're on defense and when you're inside your own half. Other than that, as long as we keep a strong forwards, strong pack, We do a great driving maul. I think that we can go down there and definitely get the W.
Well, I think the thing is, people are realizing, and I don't know why this wasn't picked up last year, is our set piece out of the mall. It scores us a lot of points, and Austin started to hold us up, like we talked about prior. So if Atlanta starts to hold us up, we have to kind of change our tactics a little bit. I think this year's set of coaches don't mind changing their tactics on the fly. I think last year's coaches, even though we got to the semifinal, we were right on the doorstep of a championship. The hardest part of any coach is being in the Super Bowl and at halftime saying, I got to throw out my playbook. But sometimes you have to do that. In each game, if they're putting, the stop to your maul and holding you up on every try, you got to do something else. So I think we can do that. I'm not sure if Rocky's going to get the start and if Patty's going to be playing either with his ankle. So it's going to be touch and go with our scrum. We'll find out, I guess, tomorrow around 4 p.m. when the roster comes out, which I'm sure we'll talk about privately. Yes. For those that don't know, me, Mike, Craig, and Dan constantly chatter like little, old ladies about it, nice Italian old ladies. But I think we are just as strong as them in the set piece. I think that our back line is a little better as far as free flowing to get the ball to a position where it looks like they'll double team Marshy or they'll double team Connor, and then it'll free somebody up in a one-on-one. I think
maybe we get a few more tries out of Troy.
Yeah. Honestly, with Troy coming out, who that opens up? The Cowboy. And I know Ray might be watching right now. If those of you who don't know, Mark O'Keefe's father, Ray O'Keefe, is all over the boards here. So give him a shout out if you see him. So it might open up the Cowboy a little bit. Double teaming Marsh might open up Connor a little bit more. So we'll see. And, Troy really came in as a fullback. But I think with the way the ball was bouncing at Sam Boyd, they stuck with having Foden back there just because he has that experience and he can get the kickoff quicker. He's not as jittery as maybe a younger player would be if the ball's in a weird position, which he got blasted for in the first one, obviously for letting it go.
He picked that up in the second one. He figured it out, and I barely touched the dirt in the second game. There was a few times that he figured he did.
This is what I don't like, because when he let in New England, when he let the first kick go and it went out the back, they called him a genius. And then the second one bounced weird, and it was Foden was a jerk, and Foden should have known better. Like, you were just calling him a genius literally 3 minutes ago when he let it bounce. So hindsight's 20/20. I guess they're really killing us with that. But I do think this is a hard fought battle. I think RUNY wins by 2. I think it's going to be one of those heart attack games, unfortunately, that I hate. I like to win by a lot very quickly.
Yes.
And are you doing the Super Brew Pick'em with like Earful of Dirt or the MLR fans or anything like that?
I'm not.
Okay, so I'm going to toot my own horn here. I think I'm number 3 or top 3 in the Super Brew for Earful of Dirt, and I'm top 15 in the total MLR standings or something. I got lucky. The Atlanta win, and I got around the point differential. I think they do Price is Right style. Like, you have to be under the close and under the point differential. So I think I picked Atlanta by 10. So that really helped me. But I'm not sure how I'm going to do this week. My gut tells me Atlanta is a tough game to win. But I want RUNY to win, obviously. So I'm going to go with my heart and pick RUNY and Super Brew, and then knock on wood, that'll knock through. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen week 3?
I don't know. I like the Atlanta game. Atlanta was up 17-10 with 78 minutes to go, and they scored one final try to put the nail in the coffin against the Gold. So it was still a close game for them against the Gold right up until the end. I'm hoping that if RUNY gets one of those 1 or 2 early tries in, it should be good. And then they can continue and keep rolling with it. But if Atlanta puts up a good fight in that first 10, 20 minutes, it's anybody's ball game.
We had a user talking about RUNY's conditioning in the second half of the next game. I just want to point out Matt Workin and Nate Brickley, I think, both played 80 minutes solid. So you had your two starting locks playing 80 complete minutes due to injury. So I think with the signing, which again I'm not even sure. Let me check the feed real quick to see if it was announced yet. Let me just see if Mr. McCarthy has posted anything. Not that I see. But if it really is a loose forward, I think it does kind of. I think it wasn't as much the conditioning as it was they had to stick with those guys for 80 minutes due to injury, and they just looked gassed. So, So
and then even some of the subs got injured as well. So
it kind of threw everything in flux. Yeah. So I think having one more loose forward, not being in Vegas is helping too, because now you've come back, you know who's there, you know who you can bring the flight to Atlanta. You don't have to house them because it is a cost thing too. You can only have so many guys in Vegas for such an amount of time. And to fly people in and out is an expense that gets a little crazy. So I think just taking that one trip down to Atlanta and coming back is going to be a little easier than having, 2 matches and the same amount of guys. Because now think about it. You have Will Leonard, he gets suspended, so he can't play. And now he's out in Vegas doing nothing because he's suspended versus a guy who could come in and take that spot at least, and be on the roster or maybe be rostered instead of somebody who we needed. But again, it is let's see. Well, I don't think we looked tired and slow in week 1 as much as it was just the damn wind. I mean, when you have a 45, 50 mile an hour wind, you're not going to be committal to a ball because it's really hung up there for a long time too. So, I don't necessarily agree with that. And knowing how it's funny because when the guys played New York Barbarians, they were just as fast. They were as fast as they were going to be. So I think it's more of, again, injuries to key positions, especially the same position that's killing us, not having the proper guys there because of those injuries. And the wind conditions in week 1 were just crazy. It sucks to say, but that's really what killed us. So
yeah, I think definitely our kick chase was definitely better week 2. And I think wind definitely had to do with that. I feel like also just playing in Sam Boyd, you play there 1 week, you don't know, this is now a new field that you've never played on, you don't know what's going to happen. Second time you're playing there, okay, now I know there's a weird little bounce, I can't let it just roll, I have to get there immediately. So I think they learn from week 1 to week 2 how to play in Sam Boyd, and hopefully they take that into week 3 where they realize let's just not let the ball get to the ground when we're chasing or whatever, we're doing box kicks or chip kicks, let's just meet them up and hit them and cause some injuries, or not cause some injuries, but cause some damage and cause maybe a mistake or two.
Yep, and I also think getting punched in the mouth by New England with those quick tries kind of got into their head a little bit, so that could have been part of it too. Week 1, but we're past week 1. Right now, the overall record is 1-1. I think we're number 5 in the East. We're still ahead of like the 4th, 5th, and 6th team in the West based on point differential.
Yeah. The West is really dragging it right now.
Yeah, so overall, we're not doing too bad, but I don't care about overall. I care about getting top 3 and getting into that playoff position. So again, this is going to be a weekly little show. We're going to have some more guests next week. We look forward to doing this. Just so you guys know, we don't fact check anything, so anything I say is probably wrong, specifically with statistics, especially with tactics, and especially if I tell you somebody told me something, I've definitely quoted them wrong. That's on my side. Thank you guys very much. Mike, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you'll be back next week. And
always a pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you.